I am Riddhi Nagar and I'm from ITM Business School, Kharghar. I am interning with DORAI Foundation for a 15 days social connect program. So today we have with us Mr. AKHIL Paul, and he's the director and founder member of Sense International India. Sense International India aims to provide access to advice, opportunities, and support to everyone who face challenges because of visual and hearing impairment and other disabilities. Welcome, sir. We are privileged to have you with us. So, firstly, sir, I would like to know any motivation or incident, like what made you to incorporate this particular organization?
Thanks a lot, and I'm very grateful to all of you to include me in your list of people whom you wanted to interview. And as far as deafblindness is concerned, uh, the category, the people we work with, they are called deafblind. And as you know, Helen Keller was one of the most probably one of the what do you say greatest deafblind people came onto the earth so far, but there is a chance that we might have many coming down from today onwards. There will be many deafblind people. So deafblindness, as you know, is a very unique kind of disability because it includes deafness as well as blindness. So it's not deaf or blind, but it is deaf as well as blind. As far as our work is concerned, in terms of starting work for deafblind, I used to work for an organization called National Association for the Blind all over India, looking after the rural, mainly rural blind people, their needs, their education, their rehabilitation. And during this time, we used to come across many blind people with additional disabilities, and most of them having hearing impairment. So now the problem is, when you are just a blind, you can get educated, you can communicate, you can do many things in life. And when there is an addition of deafness, then because almost 95% of our learning happens through what we see and hear, so then it becomes difficult when you have both avenues of learning actually compromised or impaired. So that gave me a motivation that how to make life easier and more meaningful for people who have this combination of vision and hearing impairment. And I was, I think, fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go and study in the US in the Perkins School for the Blind, and that broadened my horizons in terms of thinking what else can be done for people with deafblindness. So this is way back in 92, 93. And after coming back, I worked only for people with dual sensory impairment, people with multiple disabilities and deafblindness. So that's how I sort of started into this path, and got the opportunity to set up Sense International India. Sense is actually an organization which is a UK-based organization, which was started by two mothers in the 1960s after the Second World War. There was a huge pandemic of rubella. You know, rubella is something which affects your fetus in the first 3 months. When the mother is pregnant and the fetus is only 3 months old in the first trimester, if there is a rubella infection, then the fetus develops many disabilities. It can be one disability, it can be multiple disabilities, but mainly to do with your sensory organs and your brain. Because in the first 3 months, in the first trimester, only the brain and the sensory organs are being developed in the fetus. So these mothers have, in the 1960s, they got children who were rubella, born with rubella. And they started a small group with which Sense grew, and Sense became a national organization in UK. But then they found that there are other countries where there are people who have similar conditions. So they wanted to start something outside UK, and outside UK, majority of work which is happening in the developing world for disabled is India. So they selected India as their next sort of destination. I was lucky to be part of that first feasibility study. And with that, in 1996, we started Sense International in India as an Indian entity. We set up an Indian board, Indian organization, and from there we started our journey.
I must say, this is a very commendable gesture. Like the world needs it. So, sir, can you please share some of the activities undertaken by your organization?
Sure. See, when we started in 96, 97, the major problem was nobody knew about deaf blindness. So, just to give you a small incidence, in India there is an organization and body called Rehabilitation Council of India. What it does is it uh, designs curriculums for human resource development in the disability sector. And there was a request by one organization in Mumbai, which was set up by late Beroz Vacha, a teacher for the deaf, and she started working for deafblind. Her organization's name is Helen Keller Institute for Deaf and Deafblind. That was the first school set up in this part of the world, which was catering to deafblind people. And because of various constraints, Beroz could only cater to about 20-25 deafblind children at that point of time. And she wanted to find out if there are any deafblind people in the country. And with that, she requested Rehab Council of India to set up a teacher training program so that teachers would come, prepare, and get to identify deafblind people. You'll be surprised that the almost 8-month long wait of Beroz ended up in a letter from Rehab Council of India, which said that in India, only 25 deafblind people are there, which are studying in Helen Keller Institute. So we don't need any teacher training program. So that was, the first point of reference for me when I came back from US and I went to see Beroz. I met her. This was my first point of reference about deafblind people. And this was, an overwhelming response that in a country like India, how can we say that we have only 25 deafblind? Because I knew at that point of time that there is a syndrome which is called the Usher syndrome. Usher syndrome is something which happens in that you are born deaf, but as your age increases, with early teens, you start to develop visual impairment due to retinitis pigmentosa. So the syndrome is called Usher because if you remember, if you go to a movie theater and you will find someone with a torch helping you to sit in your designated seat on your seat number, that person, that service is called ushering service. And somebody guides you and takes you there. So here, deafness ushers blindness, and there is no cure for retinitis pigmentosa. And 6% of Usher positive people are actually deaf, go blind as well. So this I knew about because I already studied that. And that was the major problem when we started our work. So first activity we did, that we started writing letters to various schools for the deaf, schools for the blind, and centers for children with intellectual disabilities with a checklist that these are the 10 things. If your child if you get 5 or more tick marks in the checklist, please get back to us. Your child will have dual sensory impairment. So that was the very first activity we did. And after that, we set up networks for family, because family is the first place where the child comes. Second, for teachers who work with deafblind children. And third network for young adults with deafblindness. Because if you want to work in a sector which is so unique, where the needs are so different, you need to have a feeding ground. You get to know what is required, what are their actual requirements, rather than sitting in a, on a table and five people deciding what needs to be done. It is better that we get what is the actual requirement from the sector itself. So those were second activity, and we started setting up programs for deafblind. See, there was a big, I would say, temptation to set up our own school for deafblind, because that's easiest. You get funding, you get a lot of people coming in, you get a big, beautiful office and building and everything. But what we decided, that we would not set up a school, because one school is already there in Mumbai for deafblind, and that is catering only to 25 children. So what we need to do is to take the education to children who are in various nooks and corners of our country. So we said we will work in a developmental phase. We'll work in partnership with other agencies, other organizations. We will give the expertise that we have, that how to educate a deafblind child, to that organization, so that in years to come, we have completed 23 years, 24 years now, but our work has reduced in terms of our one-to-one service. But from that day onwards, we decided that we will work in partnership. So we started setting up these partnerships all across India. Today we have almost 60 partners in 24 states of India, with the same model. There is nothing called Sense International India school in any part of the country. It's all either a school, it will be, Spastic Society of Tamil Nadu in Chennai, they have a deafblind program. Whether it is in Patna, there's Asha Deep, or in Indore, there is MP Welfare Association, or in Raipur, Akanksha. So all these, in Calcutta, we have Society for the Visually Handicapped, and also Calcutta is Society for Education of Children with Deafblindness, set up recently. So all these are individual partners. Fourth major activity we took was advocacy for the rights of people with deafblindness, because there was nobody speaking for them. They can't come out and speak because of their problem in communication. See what happens when you are deafblind, you neither can communicate verbally nor through sign language. So all your communication is through touch. Even the sign language they use is through touch. So it was very difficult for them to come out and talk about their needs, their rights. So the next activity we took was doing advocacy, and through advocacy we managed to get deafblindness included in the Rights for Persons with Disability Act in 2016. Another major activity we took was teacher training. We got Rehab Council of India to accredit a course which is being run in 10 different places today in the country. So teacher training program. And as we started in 96, 97 with children, those children started, they were growing up. So their needs were changing. So we changed our activities and our projects along with that. So today we are working on vocational training and employment. So there are more than 200 deafblind in the country who are proud earning members for their families. So this is how we have, over the years, we have sort of, developed, evolved our services as well.
So these were really useful insights, as many of us still don't know about the hearing and visual impairment, and we did not know that how competent they are. They are even more competent than us. So that is something really great. So next, would you like to share some of the challenges that you faced while incorporating this organization?
The major challenge, I would say, for in terms of setting up the organization, was lack of awareness in the NGO sector as well as in the government sector. So people didn't know what deafblindness is, and lack of awareness became the biggest hurdle for us. So when we go to a government meeting and say that we work with deaf blind, they'll say, oh, deaf and blind, yeah, 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 okay, okay, okay. So you tell us where you want to, which school you have, where is the center where the children with blind and deaf children are going. So that was a major hurdle for us to make them understand that deaf blindness has a unique need, and deafblind people have all the rights as any person with disability or any of us have. So that was a major hurdle. Second hurdle, because there was lack of awareness, getting funding. So it's very easy today to raise funds. I mean, no sector is easy, but if you say you want to work with street children, people know what you're talking about, right? If you say you want to work with people with wheelchair, or people with physical impairment, people with polio, or you want to work with for cochlear implant, so people understand what you're talking about, and they provide you help, they provide you support, funding support, everything. But when they don't know what actually deaf blindness is, the funding support also becomes very difficult to to raise. And third important challenge is the availability of trained human resource. Because see, when the sector is starting, there are very few deafblind people. There is less of funding. Similar manner, less teachers will be employed there. And employment opportunity becomes less. So this is a vicious circle. Less demand, so that leads to less production. And this became a big problem for us in the first 5 years. So that's how we decided that we want to work with the government in the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or integrated education, inclusive education, now which is Samagra Shiksha, so that we train the regular teachers how a deafblind child can be admitted in the classroom, and how you can modify, alter your same curriculum, the national curriculum, to teach a child with deaf blindness. And that proved a very fruitful exercise. And then the sector started to open for children with deaf blindness to come into regular education as well.
So it is an achievement in itself to overcome these many hurdles and incorporate such a huge organization. So that is really something to learn from you. So, sir, can you brief us about the major day-to-day activities undertaken by your organization?
See, our major activity is capacity building and supporting smaller NGOs to set up work for deafblind people. That's our major activity. And second major activity is to do research, and through these three networks which I shared earlier, through them seek information that what is the requirement from teachers of deafblind, from parents of deafblind children, and deafblind people themselves. So in a day-to-day activity, we have a very small team of 40 members which looks after not only India but also Bangladesh and Nepal. So what we do is we train staff members in a partner organization. We train regular school teachers in various aspects of deafblindness, and because we raise funds to support these projects, we have a project management team which looks after reporting, which looks after case studies, which looks after various kind of reporting formats which are required, so that we keep monitoring our partners in the most effective and efficient manner. So on a day-to-day basis, for a deafblind child, before COVID period, would that a child would come to a center or a school where there is an IEP, the individualized education plan for the child. There's a teacher assigned to that child who looks after the education part, and all other things happen at home. Now, not all children can come to a center because India is a huge country. 70% of our population live in rural areas. and not all rural areas have schools or centers. So what we did, we started community-based rehabilitation programs in which we trained local field workers in deafblindness who would visit homes of deafblind children and provide the same life skill training and functional academic training and other trainings to deafblind people at their homes with the family. So number one, the building capacity of the family members, where the family members learn how to look after their deafblind children, and slowly and gradually the support from the implementing agency is faded away, so that there is independence in terms of understanding, independence in terms of resource mobilization within the local area, either agency or the community. So on a day-to-day basis, this is how we sort of time out for our deafblind clients. So depending on the age, there is life skill training, which is, all your brushing, toileting, feeding, all those kind of things. And then for little older group, there is academics, functional academics, then activities of daily living. Little older group, if they are into a school, then regular education support in that. Young adults who are ready to go into employment, we do pre-vocational training for them, which includes currency identification, dexterity training, working with skills in terms of their coordination of their hands and other skills required in terms of vocational training. And last, the employment part, where we support in terms of seed capital. So we provide, depending on the business or activity they want to start, we provide them seed capital starting from 20,000 to 50,000, 60,000 rupees. And we keep an eye on how they are doing, how they can maintain simple accounts, and move forward by supporting another deafblind with the same money which we have given to them. It rolls over to the next person.
So, helping and promoting the people with special needs is really the need of the hour, because we have been ignoring them since long. But now it's great that people are getting aware of the same. So, this new year, what changes would you want to see in the society?
I think we need to become more inclusive. The society needs to understand, as in the beginning we were talking, I mean, Sanjay and I started talking about diversity. I think the society needs to accept and respect diversity, whether the diversity is because of your disability or ability, or a class, or a status or economic status, religion, caste, any kind of diversity. I think we need to respect and accept that, because unless and until we do respect diversity, it will be difficult for us to create an inclusive society. And without inclusion, we will be just islands. All of us who are working in the disability sector, we learn a lot from various marginalized sectors, like whether you talk about women rights, women empowerment, you talk about any other, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, their fight and rights at the moment, the farmers fight which is going on, the struggle which is going on. All this would have not taken place from the beginning if we learn how to respect diversity. So the key is, for the younger generation and today's world, we must open to learn about diversity and respect each other's diversities.
Thank you so much, sir, for imparting such useful insights. We are really honored to have you here. Over to Saujanya ma'am.
Sir, good afternoon. I am Kagniya Prasad from D.O.R.A.I Foundation. As a representative of D.O.R.A I Foundation, would like to say thank you so much for being there with us. I mean, talking to a co-Karamveer awardee is truly, truly an honor. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Like you rightly mentioned, all of us can learn something from each other, which is why we're recording this interview today, as you can see. This is going to be all of these recording. We're doing recording of people from multiple different social sector backgrounds, and we're going to create a catalog. So the Foundation is working on creating a catalog with our IGM interns, which will be inspirational stories from everybody, so that everybody can see this, view this on social media, know that there is hope, know that there's a path, know that there are other people who have walked the path and succeeded in life. So thank you for contributing to that. I mean, it was absolutely inspiring to hear from you. Yes, we have come a long way, but we have a long way to go. So we'll all walk on this path together. And thank you for paving the path for us. Thank you so much for all the contributions that you've made to society in general. We are honored to have you. So we have a small little something from the D.O.R.A.I Foundation. It's our way of showing our gratitude, appreciation, and the privilege that we got talking to you. Riddhi, can we have Sir's certificate up on screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a small little something that we have for you from the D.O.R.A.I Foundation. It's something very little as compared to all the big things that you've done, but a little something from us.
Nothing is small. No, Saujanya, thanks a lot. I'm actually very grateful to all of you, to the D.O.R.A.I Foundation, and making sure that you rope me into this. It's a movement you have started, and I have a lot of hope with young people, because what we see in my generation is not very encouraging. We are not talking the language which is of inclusion. We are not paving way for our younger generation to walk a path which is going to open up more love, care, and respect for each other. So I truly hope that your generation actually paves that way forward, and I'm very confident that kind of people you are, may your tribe increase many folds. May you continue to talk on these lines with your friends and their friends as well. And my huge regard for Sumitra and what she does. We are very old, great friends. We have worked on many issues together. So please convey my regards to Sumitra as well.